When somebody sends a sync file to you, you'll end up with one of these .sqz files, and it will follow the standard MapMate naming convention, where the first three characters show you the CUK of the person who sent it, and it's going to the last three characters of the CUK of the system that is going to receive the data. So in this example, we're looking at a file that's come from 1pm and is going to 8fy. 8fy is the MapMate license that we're going to import it into. This SQZ file can arrive by various means. You may download it from the web, which we'll look at in a moment, or it may be sent to you as an email attachment, or even on a disk or memory stick of some sort. If you receive it via an email or a memory stick, you need to move the file into the correct place so that MapMate can deal with it. So I'm going to cut this file from its current location and put it into the My MapMate area, which, depending on how your MapMate is set up on your computer, it will either be under Program Files or in the Documents area if you're up to date. So wherever your My MapMate folder is, you then need to go into the Data folder, into Cache, and into Download. The Download folder is for any file that's coming into your copy of MapMate. So we'll paste the file into here, and that's now in the place where MapMate expects it to be. So we can go back to MapMate itself and open the replication part of the program. And because the file is in that correct folder, MapMate recognizes that straight away, and it can see that there's a file that's come in from center 1pm. You don't need to do anything with the tick boxes here, they're always automatically filled in depending on what MapMate is doing. All you need to do is click on the Synchronize button. It tells you that it's now going to bring the data into your database, and that if you wish you can send a return file back in the other direction. But you get a choice over whether you do that or not when the import is finished. So we'll click OK for the moment, and MapMate will now take a few moments to import the data depending on the size of the file. Once it's done the import, as I said, it gives you a choice as to whether you want to send a file back in the other direction. In this case we don't need to do that, so I'll just say no. And you can also choose whether or not to send an acknowledgement email back to the other person. This only works if both you and the other person have got your MapMate licenses fully paid up for the current year. If you haven't, then the sync process will still work, but you won't be able to send this automatic email. Again, in this case I don't need to do that, so I'll just say no. And it comes up with the to-do list, and this is just a reminder that you've had some data in from another centre, but you haven't yet sent any data back. And you may not want to send data back or not need to send data back, in which case you can either just leave them on your to-do list or tick them off if you wish. It doesn't make any difference if you're not actually sending data back the other direction. So we can cancel that and say done. MapMate doesn't make it very obvious how you can actually see the data that you've just imported from a sync file, but one thing you can do is go to the Analysis section of MapMate, go into Browse Records, and look at Browse All Records New at Last Sync. That will show you all the records that have been imported. It may also show you some of your own records or some records from another import if you've done several of them recently. Basically what it's doing is showing all the records that are your current generation on your copy of MapMate. So it may show you more than you need, but it certainly should show you all the records that have come in from the latest sync. And remember that if you hover over the join between the grey boxes here and the code column, you can drag that across and actually see the unique keys for each record, the right-hand three characters of which show you the CUK for the record, and you can see that they've come from the centre that just sent you the sync file. So that's how the data import process works with sync files. It's worth remembering that there is no way of rejecting a sync file after you've done an import. You can't tell MapMate to go back to a previous state. So if you are importing a sync file and you're not quite sure what it contains, or you have any concerns over it, it's best to take a backup copy of MapMate before you bring the sync file in, so that if anything does go wrong, you can just go back to your backup copy without losing anything. So in that example, we started off by copying our sync file into the MapMate data cache download folder, and that folder is now empty because as soon as we bring the sync file in, MapMate automatically deletes it from there. The other way that you might get a sync file in is if you receive an email saying that a sync file's been uploaded to the MapMate website. And if that's the case, you need to go into Replication, go to the Sync menu, get sync file from Web, and that will check with MapMate's web server as to whether any sync files have been uploaded for you, and if they are, you'll be able to download them, and it will automatically put them into that data cache download folder. So that system works quite well, but as we said before, it can only work if both ends of the partnership are fully paid up with their MapMate license.